Hello and welcome along to this Betfred special ahead of a big weekend of boxing in Saudi Arabia. Got a lot to talk about. Anthony Joshua back in the ring for a rematch against Andy Ruiz Jr. Will it be a different result this time around? A good undercard as well in the dunes, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Callum Smith. Why? Because we're with his trainer here, Joe Gallagher, is alongside me. You well, Joe?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
Are you looking forward to the weekend? Because it is going to be absolutely massive, isn't it, this fight between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. It's been interesting in the build-up. Are you looking forward to it, first of all?
Yeah, there isn't many big fights that I do get excited for, but I was there in Madison Square Garden when Andy Ruiz, the Snickers man, obviously caused a huge upset. And what an atmosphere it was that night. And everyone left the arena that night shocked, stunned. And what a good success story as well, feel-good story. I think a lot of gymnasiums in America, the memberships halved the next day. I don't think there was a need for it with Andy's physique, but really looking forward to this fight this weekend. Really tough to call, really hard to pick a winner, but I know everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, well, that is a good thing for boxing as well. I mean, you had first-hand experience almost. You were there at that time. What went wrong for AJ first time around?
I think he was gearing up for a huge fight with Jarrell Miller, a lot of bad blood in it. He pulled out and Andy Ruiz stepped in. And obviously the stick he got on social media and the general consensus was he was here just to make up the numbers. AJ's coming out party in New York and a straightforward formality. And we all seen on the night, AJ walking to the ring didn't see himself. He got in there and I don't think it was a case what AJ did wrong in the night as much so much what Andy Ruiz did well. His game plan was very good. He hurt AJ as early as round 2 and obviously got dropped in round 3, got up and dropped AJ and pulled off a huge upset. All the stories then afterwards, you've seen AJ's dad going for Eddie Hearn, the stories coming out that he had panic attacks or he was knocked out in sparring, he wasn't well, he shouldn't be in the ring. But you shouldn't really take away from what a good performance it was from Andy Ruiz. If you're not right, don't fight. Anthony Joshua and his team thought he was right. He went in the ring and, like you say, they came unstuck, but they've got a chance to put it right this weekend.
Yeah, there was clearly something amiss, that's for sure, wasn't it? But how difficult is it? Because you've been in a situation where you might be preparing for one fighter and then somebody else completely different steps in, because there's no doubt Andy Ruiz is completely different to Miller, who he was due to fight. Yeah,
well, Miller is a huge heavyweight, height-wise, size-wise, everything. But then you go to little Andy Ruiz, small little fighter.
Probably the worst type of fighter for
No, it is,
somebody.
especially 3-4 weeks out to get the sparring partners in. And he's not just small, he's got quick hands, he's got good pedigree, he was a good amateur, and he's learned his craft. And like you say now, that there should be no excuses now, depending on the result this weekend. Everyone's had a 12-week camp. And as much as it's short notice as it was for AJ first time, it was for Andy Ruiz. But he grabbed his opportunity with both hands and he got the win.
Was he right to take the rematch? Would it have been your advice to get straight back in there and put it right?
I think sometimes your bravado and everything around it is to do that. We've seen it in the past. Lennox Lewis has done it, other fighters like that. The trouble with that, with AJ, I don't think he's had chance. It would have been good for him to have had a warm-up, but then that you lose the wrist. And if Andy Ruiz went and defended the belts against someone else and lost, you've lost it. And AJ, the purse, the venue, the occasion, the event, which it is this weekend, if Ruiz wouldn't have beat him, this wouldn't be happening in a roundabout way. If Anthony Joshua had beat Ruiz in June, Anthony Joshua wouldn't be getting half the money he's getting now for this rematch. So there's a silver lining in every cloud, I suppose, in AJ's team anyway.
I know you know Rob McCracken, he's been talking about it. He's very tactically aware, isn't he? He said you're going to see a very different Anthony Joshua. What will they have been working on?
Well, I think Rob obviously is usually wants the jab, everything off the jab, keeping it long range. And I'm sure they would have studied videos, I'm hoping they would have, of the way how Lennox Lewis, Vitaly Klitschko, how they dealt with small heavyweights. And they've also brought 2 other trainers in. So I know they say the two heads are better than one, but I think there's 3 coaches involved with this now. AJ's brought 2 pad men in as well to help his speed, his combination punching, to keep him loose. And I think the safe bet, or Team AJ's, is for him to play it safe, jab, not take any risks, and try and get that points decision. But I do feel when you go into a contest and you're relaxed and you're not looking for the power shot happens, and I won't be surprised if AJ landed early and finished it.
Yeah, you could see maybe use that jab because he's got the reach, and if the opportunity comes, then land it.
Yeah, 100%, exactly. Sooner or later, Ruiz has to come forward, has to cut the ring off and take a chance.
Obviously, he's going to be a lot fitter, and we're told he's a little bit lighter, AJ, as well.
Yeah, AJ's, I don't know what the thinking is behind that, maybe to make him a bit more looser, a bit more supple, a bit more mobile. I think Andy Ruiz has got to be the same as he was last time. But from what I'm hearing in America, Andy Ruiz's training camp, I was talking to someone close to the team the other day, and his training camp has been unreal. They say he's punching faster, he's cutting the ring off quicker, and they're coming for the knockout. They don't want it to go to points. They're coming for the knockout, and they reckon they'll get AJ between rounds 9 and 11. That's what they're looking to do. They'll knock Anthony Joshua out between rounds 9 and 11.
Yeah, well, that'd be an interesting bet, that's for sure. It's different for Andy Ruiz, though, isn't it? And you've been there. As the champion, there's a slightly different mentality, isn't there? Because you're defending the belts, you're not chasing the belts, if you like. There's a bit more expectation.
Yeah, he was the hunter. He's now become the hunted.
Yeah.
And obviously he's had life-changing money. He's bought his mum the house, the mansion. He's got the cars. He's got the rings, the chains, everything. But he seems a very humble person. And he thinks to himself, well, I'm going in having a rematch against someone I've already beat. I don't think this is a Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson scenario, then that he took his eye off the ball and went and fought Evander Holyfield. I think this is Andy Ruiz is thinking, I've took your best shot, got up and I've beat you. If I beat you again now, I'll get Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. And I think he's hugely confident. I don't think there's no pressure on him whatsoever. I think the pressure's all on AJ again. And as each day goes fight week, that pressure's got to be cranked up, felt more and everything else. And I thought at the press conference the other day, when they came head to head, the fact that Andy Ruiz said, and still, was a huge psychological blow, as well as wearing the New York Knicks vest as well. Yeah. Very clever, very clever. But he's just it's wrong to say, he's like a competition winner. Can't believe his luck that he's there holding the belts and everything, and he did. And what a competition he did win in June, and he's hit the jackpot, and I'm sure he's confident of remaining world champion. I'll
get your prediction in a moment, but what happens? They're talking about AJ loses, he's finished, but if he wins it, where do we go from here? What's the scenario?
I think AJ, if he loses, Dylan White's on the undercard. I think Dylan White's a good fight again. I think I don't think he'll ever get the Tyson Fury, the Deontay Wilder fights. Then if he wins, I don't think he'll get them fights neither. I think Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, that's the next fight. That's the huge fight. And it's just trying to make that fight. Will they work with Eddie Hearn, with Matchroom? And I think that's the stumbling block, the politics with it all. We've seen it in the past. We've seen Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson fight each other when they said it couldn't work. Mayweather versus Pacquiao, we've seen how it made work. So if the fans demand it and they push it, hopefully they could work. And I won't be surprised, possibly AJ may have to go on his own to try and get them fights, but he has to win first. And if he loses, there's fights for him to rebuild. I said Dylan White, David Price, it'd be an interesting fight. Yes, it's. I wouldn't say it's the end of the road for him. There's big fights for him, but it's a long way back for him to get them titles again.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 steps back to go forward again.
100%. And Andy Ruiz wins at the weekend. You know, the winner of Wilder and Fury, that fight's already made, and we will be able to have that unification fight, that one world heavyweight champion, and that that'll definitely happen.
Who's the best heavyweight around for you? Because there's a lot of debate at the moment.
Well, it's between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury for me. I've seen Anthony Joshua. He's upset a few people with the comments that if he wins, people should bow down to him as the best heavyweight in the world because they're saying Andy Ruiz is. And I don't think you'll find any decent boxing writer, journalist, trainer, coach who says Andy Ruiz is the #1 heavyweight in the world. He's not. People would argue it's Deontay Wilder, others will say it's Tyson Fury. It's between one of them two. It's too close to call, but we'll know in February once that fight's announced who is. the winner of this Saturday night will be the third best heavyweight in the world, AJ or Andy Ruiz. They're not the second or the first. They'll only be the third best heavyweight in the world.
You said it's close to call with the top two, but this is pretty close to call as well. I guess if AJ and the team get the tactics right, they should win, but there's no guarantees. As you say, Ruiz has been in great nick.
No, exactly, and this is why everyone's interested in fights. Heavyweight boxing. It's only a couple of weekends ago we've seen Deontay Wilder in a rematch, lost every round for 6 rounds, and as he said, you have to say switched on for 36 minutes when you fight him. He only has to stay switched on for 2. Right hand, job over, all done. And it's the same with this weekend. We both know both can hurt each other, both have been down, and that's what it's exciting fight. And it's great to have the heavyweight division alive, exciting. You obviously have Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Tyson getting up after a 12th round knockout, and that's what we want to see. And I think as long as the heavyweight division is alive and well and exciting, that's good for the rest of the boxing divisions.
If you're having a few quid with Betfred, where would your money be going, Joe?
Oh, I keep changing my mind. I could see AJ doing what he should have done in New York and winning within 6 rounds. But there's something with me with AJ where I feel I want him to win, but there's just that default button in him. A little bit like Frank Bruno. I think when AJ gets hit, he stays hit. You've seen against Klitschko, he got hit and he stayed hit, took him a couple of rounds to recover.
He's got to be clever, hasn't he, and get out of the way.
He's got to be clever, but when you've got Ruiz coming, fast hands, everything else, I'd go AJ before 6. After 6 down the straight, I'll go Ruiz.
Because he might be chasing the fight.
He'll be chasing the fight, and AJ, there's a lot of mental pressure this week, and it's them championship rounds when we find out how much has took out of him, the pressure, the mental warfare, psychological warfare that's going on. That's what can tire a fighter down the straight.
Yeah, we've got a couple of bets there, so a couple of options.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dillian Whyte. He's on the undercard as well. He's been dogged by controversy since, obviously, what happened last time out and the drugs allegations, if you like. But he's got a tough fight, hasn't he, this weekend against Ruiz? Yeah,
he has. It's he's took that short notice. It was a late addition to the bill. But Dylan, he knows he's so close for that world title shot. He knows himself a good win for him. And if AJ wins, if they can't make that unification, that's a good fight here back in the UK. Dylan, he's going up against someone who's taller than him, big, got good pedigree. And I don't think Dylan will want to come so far to fall at the last hurdle. So, he's got a tough fight. But I expect Dillian Whyte to come through and win the round 8. Between rounds 8 and 10.
Yeah, he's got to win it, hasn't he? And put that controversy 100%. Behind him as well. Povetkin against Hunter's also on the undercard as well.
That's a great fight. That's a very, very good fight. Hunter, huge fan of. Had a good win not long ago in Monte Carlo. We've seen him over here as well.
Great clash of styles, this, isn't it?
It is as well. Hunter, obviously, he comes from a good stock. His father was a good heavyweight. And I was surprised they didn't make the Povetkin-Dillian Whyte fight on this show. That would have been a good fight. But like I say again, Povetkin and Hunter, the winner of that fight will be looking for a shot of AJ or Ruiz as well. And that's a tough one to call. If I'm pushed, I'm going to say I think Hunter's skill set, mobility will be enough to win a points decision on that.
Could be a great night, couldn't it?
No, definitely.
Looking forward to it. Let's talk about Callum Smith, because obviously it's fresh in everybody's mind. Victory last week against John Wright. It was dogged by controversy, a point success. How did you see it?
I seen it like when I got into the ring, Cam said, what do you think? So I got 116, 112, in around that score.
Were you worried, Joe?
I wasn't worried at all. Callum came back to me around 10 and I think his brother shouted to him, Sky have got it close. So Callum said to me, Sky have got it close. I went, take me what Sky is saying. I'm telling you now, like I've got you well comfortable ahead. And so he went out round 11. I think a bit of panic set in. He had a bit of a shootout. And I was saying to him, don't get involved. You're well ahead. At the scorecards, 116, 112 twice. That's how I had it. 117, 111. Well, someone's give it an extra round. But the general consensus that Callum Smith won the fight. But then to hear this huge outcry and outrage of scorecards and everything else, I think, wow, everyone's the general consensus that Callum won the fight. So we're talking 1 round or 2 rounds. That's all the difference on the scorecard. It's not like it was a 115, 113 each way and then an outrageous 118, 110 another way. I thought Callum Smith did well, won the early rounds, won 5 out of the first 6, bust his hand, and still did enough to win the fight. So I can understand John Ryder and his team. They're putting a good performance in, and they'll be wanting another rematch because that's their best payday for him. But out of the 3 world champions that John Ryder's fought, Callum Smith's done the best job in beating him on the scorecard. So we're moving on now, who's a mandatory challenger, and we're looking for the big fights. And hopefully maybe after this weekend there may be good news that we may get the Canelo fight.
Yeah, I mean, he said this week, I think, Callum, in the post-match, post-interview, that he didn't want to fight as an old man, so he needs to get these fights while he's in his prime, and is that the target now? 100%.
Callum obviously has got a good team about him. You see Eddie Hearn, he goes out there, gets the fights. No one can really force Canelo to fight. It's up to him, but I know there's huge pressure on DAZN to make Canelo fight someone of note, and he's running out of opponents, and Callum Smith is the number 1 at 168. Yep. Canelo never really won the world title at that weight, and that's the most logical fight to happen, and if it has to happen in Vegas, in Cinco de Mayo in May, we're willing to do that. Callum will snap his hands off for it, and that's a huge fight, one that we're confident of winning, and I think that's one that I think Canelo really fancies, just so he can think to himself he's got the proper belts at all the weight divisions. But like I say, he's in charge of his own career, and he's got to see whether the reward's worth the risk.
Tell you what, he'd have your work cut out, because you'd have to be absolutely spot on tactics, physicality for Callum as well. Yeah. Could he beat him? I guess he could, couldn't he?
100%. Obviously, I've been with Liam Smith when he fought Canelo, and there's that element to it. Callum wanting to get revenge for his brother. So I've been up close, seeing him. Canelo's a phenomenal fighter. I think it's only when you're up close and you're watching him live, realise how good a fighter he is. And in my opinion,
there are certain weaknesses, not many, but a few.
There's a few, but you've got to be very good to be able to capitalise on them few. And in my opinion, he's the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world today. It's a huge opportunity, but sometimes a bad day at the office could most probably make somebody think that they're not as good as what they are. And Callum's performance against John Ryder might be that little bit that makes Canelo go, do you know what, I'll take up on it, I'll fight him, and that's what we want, and then it's all bets are on then, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a great picture of you, by the way, here.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, really proud moment there, a crowning moment in Saudi Arabia, obviously in Jeddah, win the World Boxing Super Series, and Callum becoming the Ring Magazine champion and world number 1 in the world, and he still is, and now he's 29, and we want the big fights, the Canelos, the Golovkins, and if we have to move up to 175 as well, that is something that we're contemplating on. We just want the big fights, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, obviously you've got quite a lot of talented boxers under you as well. Anyone else you've got coming up that you're excited about and where they might go?
Obviously Callum Johnson last year failed for his world title build against Artur Beterbiev. We're trying to get him a rematch. He's out in the new year. Next week we've got Jose Burton in the MTK contract down in London, the Golden Contract. He's been out on the sidelines for a while. Really excited. I think he's the favourite for that tournament. And then we're off to America December the 20th. We have Liam Smith fighting on the Chavez Jacobs bill in Arizona. I'll be watching that closely. The winner of Chavez Jacobs most will be wanting to fight Callum Smith, Liam Smith. Another win, and hopefully he'll have another shot at a world title. So there's a few fighters in the stable: Callum Johnson, Liam Smith, Paul Butler, all wanting another shot at a world title in 2020, as well as Callum Smith going on and having them big names.
Thought it might be a little bit easier for you, because obviously Anthony Crollo is now retired, which is sad news. If he ever rings you and tries to talk you into a rematch, is it ever going to happen? And just tell us about Anthony, because he's a credit to the sport, or has been, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, Anthony, he's doing well at the moment, doing a bit of punditry work.
A lot easier, that.
Yeah, it is a lot easier. He's a good talker, and he's took 1 or 2 fighters on himself. He's coaching, he's coming into the gym, he's giving me a hand. Anthony has always been in the corners with me for the big fights. He'll always remain, and he's coming giving me a hand. And he's such a real nice kid. Like you say, he's one of the best sportsmen that have come out of Manchester, and there were big shoes to fill when you're following the footsteps of Ricky Hatton, and obviously Anthony Croller's retired now, Ricky Hatton, and we've got our own Tyson Fury flying the flag for Manchester now at the moment as well. So Anthony, he's a likeable kid, and I don't think you'll find anyone that have a bad word to say against him, and he does an awful lot for charity, and he's got a huge career, and I think he'll be a very good coach, amateur or professional, whichever one he chooses to make a career out of.
What's your most memorable moment with Anthony?
Oh, I do feel winning the world title was one, but I think defending it for the first time against Barroso, this big punching fighter who just beat Kevin Mitchell. Everyone was saying to me, poor Anthony, look after him, poor Anthony. And the fact that we went in there and won, and he went into the arena, announced as a world champion and left as still a world champion, I think that up there is one of the best nights with him.
Yeah, fantastic times.
Yeah,
Listen, it's
100%.
been brilliant having you. We're all looking forward to the boxing at the weekend.
Yeah, no, everyone you talk to, everyone on the street, and this is what it does, these big heavyweight events. There isn't many that cross over, but this fight does, and you talk to everybody, you go into a coffee shop, I'm getting stopped, who do you reckon? What should I bet on? I'm like, don't ask me, because you'll be coming for me money, but everyone's got an opinion, and heavyweight boxing, anything can happen.
Great having you. Great
Cheers,
getting
no
your
problem.
opinion as well. Top man, that was Joe Gallagher. He's a massive fight, isn't it? Look out for some of Fred's specials over the course of the build-up to the big fight. But it's Saturday night, it's in the Dunes, and it is Joshua against Ruiz, the rematch. Who will win? Have a great weekend.